Hi everyone, in this video we'll take a look how is it possible to create the very first application in Unity. So literally we'll create our first game which will use several free components we can take from Unity Asset Store, and those components are free components. Okay, so first of all you have to have an installation of Unity Hub, and you have to install one of Unity Engine versions. So in my case I have these versions, in your case, well, you have to download some of them. For example, we'll be using today the version 2020, and it doesn't matter which exact revision of that we are gonna use. So what we'll be using? We will be working from the project tab of the Unity Hub, and we will click new project to create a new project. Alright, so what will happen next? Nextly, we have to select the folder in which we'll store our new game. So I'm clicking on the new and I'm about to create the folder. Maybe I will name that, well, something like first Unity game. Let it be the name of the folder which we are choosing for the project, and let it be the name of the project as well. Okay, and we have to click the button to create the project, and what's interesting, you have to have the template 3D, so it will be the 3D game. Okay, so let's make that. Alright, and we have to wait for the splash screen which will appear, so let's wait a bit while Unity is loading. Okay, so here we have the splash screen, and we have the list of assets we'll be using. All of these assets are free assets. So we'll have textures, we'll have Skybox, we'll have grass, flowers, we'll have some basic elements of the scene, and we'll have even the first-person controller, which literally the base of this very simple game. Okay, so what's going on with our Unity? Okay, it's still loading, so let's wait a bit. Alright, so the Unity is loaded, and what do we have? Here we have the list of folders our project has. So assets contains all of the files and folders we have in our project. Here we have the current folder elements we select on the left side. Here we have the scene, literally the level. Here we have elements of the currently loaded scene, and here in the inspector we have all parameters of selected item. And it doesn't matter if the selected item is located in a scene elements or in file list, like here. Okay, I have the scene, so no parameters are there except in the opening. So that's the way how it happens. Okay, so our first steps would be to install all libraries. So in my case I will have tons of libraries in my account, so I will try to find them by names. So I will just go through each link I recommend you to use, and I will just take these names and I will make installation of libraries by names. So we will go to Window Package Manager, and we will be using assets from the asset store. So let's select the package source as my assets. Probably you will have to be verified while you do that for the first time, so there will be something like the login button which refers to the browser, and then from the browser you are pulled back to the Unity. In my case I was already registered and logged in, so nothing will happen on my side. So let's wait a bit while we will have the list of assets. Oh, okay, so I will have to be logged in. Alright, so let's see what will happen. Okay, I will have to authorize myself through the Unity. Okay, so here we have a refresh in the packages. Okay, and now I'm ready to find all libraries we will be using to install them. Okay. Alright, let's wait a bit. Okay, some compilations happening. Alright. That's great, so let's import the assets. Literally takes a time to install each of these packages. Alright, so this package is done, so let's go for another one. And the Skyboxes will take a relatively long time for installation. So let's grab this package name. Okay, here we have it. Let's import this one. Okay, finally we have a list of files to be imported, and let's import them. And this process will take maybe some 10 or 15 minutes, so let's wait until it's end. Okay, finally, this asset is installed, so let's go for other packages. Okay, let's take the next one. Okay, I will have to update this package. It will take some maybe minute. Okay, and let's import this. Okay, so this package is installed, and let's go for the last one. Okay, let's download this and let's install that. Okay, so this is done. Alright, so now we'll go for the scene tab, and here we have our first scene where we have the main camera element, so we can see through the main camera small window what the user will see when he will start to play the game. And we have a direction light which basically makes the shadows of objects, and literally doesn't matter where it's located. So in other words, what's exact position of that? The main thing is its rotation, because this light will be applied for totally all elements of our scene. So let's create the simplest things as the first person element and the ground, which will be used for the user. So let's go for a creation of the terrain. So terrain is just a surface on which we can have our scene. So literally we can make a configuration of the terrain. So as you can see, terrain is selected, and here we have parameters of the terrain. And let's make it size equal maybe to 100 in each direction, which is pretty big terrain. Okay, so that's it. If we would start playing the game, so we would say that literally we will see everything through the main camera. So literally the first camera is cached, and it's used as the player's main camera. Okay, so what we will be doing? So we'll erase this camera, and we will go for the model first-person controller, and here we have the prefab of the FPC player. So what is the prefab? Literally, it's the class in which we have some parameters, some methods, and in this case, the camera itself. So as you can see, when you put that on the scene, what do we have? We have an element itself here on the scene, and it contains the camera, and we can see such projection which literally says in which direction we literally rotated our camera, or in other words, how the camera is located within this prefab. So what we are gonna do? So we're gonna move that in a way that the capsule, which literally represents the physical borders of the object, will be upper the terrain. So it guarantees that player will not fall through the terrain, and even if it will fall, like if I will locate it somehow like that, it will just fall on the terrain. So let's see what happens when we push the play button. So what do we see? We see our player located, and we can use WASD and the shift button and the space button for jumping, and we can just go on this terrain. So as you can see, our first person element moves through the terrain, but as you can see here we have some default skies, default terrain contains some strange textures like a gray, light gray and dark gray squares. Okay, well let's make the picture more cheerful, and let's click the display button again to disable the plane. And what we will be doing, we'll firstly assign a skybox. So let's make the sky more cheerful. So we'll go to window, rendering, lighting, and we'll go for environment, and here we have the Skybox selector. We surely can select it by clicking this circle, or we can just drag and drop a Skybox inside that. So let's go for one of Skyboxes we will be using. For example, this cheerful Skybox, which I really like, or we can use some another Skybox. So as you can see, there are a few different Skyboxes we can use, and literally it's up to you which one you will be using. And here we have several folders with configurations, with different configurations, and as you can see, there are literally tons of them, tons of different Skyboxes. Okay, well, probably I will take one of the most cheerful of them from my opinion. In my opinion. Okay, so here we have it, and as you can see right now, going around the terrain becomes more interesting, more exciting, more cheerful using this Skybox. Okay, that's really awesome. And what we'll be doing, we'll be working on a terrain right now. So let's go for a terrain configurations, and let's go for this paint terrain, and let's choose the paint texture. So let's paint the terrain. So it's something similar to working in Photoshop. So let's maybe apply a layer. So let's add our first layer, and here we have textures which are registered in our project. And what I will choose, so we literally can just double click whatever texture we like. So I will maybe choose this one, and since it's the first layer, so it's used as the default one. So the whole terrain is being just drawn with that color, with the texture. Okay, so let's say we would like to have something like the walking road. So for that we will use another layer. So let's take something like this ground layer, and we will activate that. We will choose the brush because it happens similarly to the Photoshop. So if you're familiar with the Photoshop, so I think it would be clear for you how this thing works. Okay, and what we'll be doing, we'll paint some walk road. But before that, I will maybe place the cube for the reference, just to be sure what is the size of the painted road I'm gonna make. So this cube has size of 1 meter in each direction. So as you can see, we can see that, we can interact with that, and so on and so on. Yeah, and as you can see by this default texture on the terrain, the picture becomes even more colorful, even more cheerful. So let's make modifications. So let's make this this road. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use a really soft brush. I'm gonna use a small opacity. So, and I can just click using this brush on the terrain, or I can just hold the left mouse button and I can move my cursor, and whenever I will have my cursor, opacity of that previously selected texture will be used. So as you can see, it's something like a few textures, different opacity levels overlapping. So literally that's the thing which happening here. Okay, let's continue our this walking road, and let's say it will finish somewhere, maybe here. Okay, that's awesome. So we have something over here. Okay, great. So let's maybe create something in addition. So let's see how this road looks like. So let's run that. And as you can see, well, this road looks like the road, but there are a few things missing here. Well, as we probably remember from walking in the parks pretty regularly, roads, road height level is a bit lower than the grass levels. So let's make that. Let's make this road volume a bit lowered. So for that purpose, what we'll be doing? We'll switch this submodule to raise and lower the terrain, and unfortunately we cannot really lower the terrain because lowering has the lowest point, so-called a 0 point, and by default terrain has the height of 0. So I will use a very big brush to cover the whole terrain, and I will say that okay, I will make it a bit upper, so I'm changing the height of that. Just having the idea that I will literally lower the road area. Okay, so at this moment you can see our object disappeared, and let's maybe move them upper the terrain like this one, and I will do the same for the first person controller. Okay, so I will have it, and as you can see, nothing really changed here, so I still can operate with the cube. I still can walk on this ground, on this terrain. Okay, and right now let's select the terrain. Let's go for the paint terrain. Let's go to raise and lower, and let's choose some soft brush, and literally making the level upper. We have to just click on the terrain, so making it lower we have to hold shift button. Okay, so as you can see, okay, maybe I had to choose the lower opacity value, something like this. So as you can see, we are lowering the level of the road. Maybe it has super big effect, so let's maybe choose something like, yeah, well, something like this one. Maybe it's still pretty huge effect, but anyways, I hope guys you can make that even better than I will do. Okay, so maybe something like this, and let's see how it looks like. Anyways, it will be looking a bit more maybe interesting than previously. So as you can see, we have to pretty nice working on that, otherwise the road becomes quite fancy, quite unusual, as you can see. Okay, so let's disable the game. I will maybe press several times Ctrl Z to undo this levels, and I will try to make it even more smooth. Okay, something like this, just changing the opacity, changing the effect. Yes, something like this, and here we'll have to do the same. Well, yeah, and let's see what will happen. Okay, so we see that our walk road is a bit lowered, which actually is the normal case. Okay, so now the road looks as the regular road. Okay, that's great. Okay, so what we'll be doing nextly? Nextly, we have to limit our play area. So let's say we will have some hills around. So, and what I will be doing, I will maybe painting some hills on the surface, and then I will change the levels of the terrain for those hills. Alright, so let's do like following. I will go for painting painting the textures, and I will pull some new layers related to hills and mountains. Okay, well maybe I will choose something like this texture for a mid area of the hill, and I will choose something like a snowy area, so I have something like a gray-white texture which will be used here. Okay, and I'm about to make some areas around, so I will use some pretty big areas using different brushes like these ones. Okay, and by that I will be just saying that okay, my area is limited on some sort of the level. Okay, so that's great, and maybe I have to work on this area as well. So I will make the brush maybe much smaller than previous, and I will just make something like the following. Yeah, well, something like this. Okay, and what I will be going to do in addition, I will maybe be making something like the following one. So I will choose this area, and I will say, well, I will have some tops of the hills painted using something that looks similar to the snow, because as you know, the hills mostly have some snowy caps on the top, so I will be doing something quite similar. Okay, that's great, and let's maybe try to raise these areas. Okay, so I will be raising those areas, just clicking them a bit. So as you can see, our mountains start to grow, which is pretty nice, and literally exactly those results are received which were expected. Okay, so we have it. It doesn't matter that at this point these mountains are looking quite creepy. This is the normal thing, so we will be modifying that afterwards. So don't worry about this, guys. Okay, so I will make this area, well, something in a such way. Okay, and again this part will contain the hill, something like this. Okay, and as you can see, guys, at this point our hills are kind of, you know, strictly textured, so they have some strict forms, some straight lines, which is not really seen in the nature. So what we'll be doing, we'll try to average those lines, we'll try to average those spikes so they wouldn't look like, you know, something made quite artificially. Okay, so for that purpose, what we'll be doing, so we'll go for smooth height, and we literally will hold the mouse and we'll be moving through the hills. So just averaging heights. Okay, and as you can see, when I do that, the heights are just averaged. I hope you can see that, guys. So each my movement literally averages lines, averages heights, and areas become more or less with the similar height. Okay, just kind of a small effect, so don't expect that you will have some really big changes just in a second, but this thing should be done, making those hills looking not super unnatural. Okay, and let's see how the game looks using such hills. Alright, so as you can see, this looks pretty nice. and literally we have some really big hills here, some really nicely looking mountains, and so on and so on. Literally we can even make something like the extra mountains besides the map, so maybe we can go for the polytype studio, maybe we can go for environment, maybe we can look for some mountains. So let's take a look. Oh, okay, so so not really. So here we have just rocks, just bunch of rocks. But okay, that's fine. So maybe let's make this mountain maybe in the corner as quite big one. So I will maybe make it maybe such big. I will surely average that afterwards, but I will just like to have here some super massive object like this. So let's see how that looks like in a game. Oh, that's really awesome. The only thing we would like to average heights. Okay, now it looks a bit better. Let's see how that looks when we play the game. Oh yeah, that looks great. That looks really great. Okay, so as you understand, guys, here we have everything looking quite nicely, so quite sharp textures and so on and so on, but that things literally doesn't really exist when we try to operate with some distances, coloring things, and so on and so on. So if we have some distance and pretty nice distance to the object, pretty regularly we see it a bit smoothly, maybe foggy, and so on and so on. So let's activate the fogging. So let's go for the lighting, which can be opened using window, rendering, lighting, and let's go for environment, and let's on the bottom side activate the fog. Okay, so here we have the fog. So how the scene will be looking when we will start playing that. Okay, so as we can see right now, that big hill becomes a foggy once we are on a pretty nice distance to that. But this fog is kind of strange. It has the gray color, and we can even pick that color. So let's go for the color. Let's click on this button to pick the color, and I will choose the color which can be seen through the camera. So what we'll be doing, I will pick the color from the camera. So maybe I will pick this cheerful blue color, or the color of the cloud can be used as well if we like. And right now, if we will be on a distance to this hill, how it will look like. So as you can see right now, it's foggy, and foggy using the really soft blue color which is taken from the skies, from the cloud in particular. Okay, so what else we can do? Well, we literally can make the scene more cheerful using some grass. So what we'll be doing for the grass? So let's take a look. So for the grass and maybe another small textures, we'll go for the terrain, and then we'll go for this tab, so paint details. So we'll paint some details, and let's click this area and let's add the grass texture. Okay, so here we will choose one of available grass elements, so for example this grass, and it's possible to pick different colors which will be used for the grass. And these colors will be as a random color adder to the grass texture. So I will maybe choose this once, and that's it. So I will have these grass textures here, and I will do I will pull them to the scene in a similar manner as I've been working with textures, with lowering, making the height, and so on and so on. So as you can see, I'm just using that, and I can use the opacity and the target strength. So literally the target strength literally says how many elements I will be using, clicking the left mouse button. So how many elements I will be placing. Okay, and as you can see, we can place quite a lot of them. Let's maybe continue doing that for all of this, for the whole of this map. So maybe something like this. Maybe I will do it in the following way. So maybe I will say that here I will have some grass as well. Okay. And when I do so, when I start playing the game, I can see, well, I have the grass. So everything, so the world becomes more and more fulfilled with some elements. So the picture becomes more and more cheerful. Okay, what else? Well, for sure we can have different types of grass, and maybe we can use even something in addition. So let's add another grass texture, and this time let's take something like this. Maybe the brush flower. Okay, so great. So let's maybe add these flowers in our scene. Okay. So I will just click this, click the cursor somewhere, just in several positions on these grass elements, and we'll have this new fancy additional yellow grass added to some areas. Like this. Okay, and right now, as you can see, we will see two types of the grass, which makes the picture more fulfilled with different elements, which is really nice. So right now we can see some differences in these elements of the scene, of the level. Okay, that's great. So let's add something in addition. Okay, so let's say we would like to have something like trees. Okay, so for the trees, we can use once again the Polytype Studio elements. So let's go for trees, and here we have several trees we can use. Okay. So to use them, once again we'll go to terrains. Literally we can pull them on the scene in a such way, but we'll have to put every element in a such way if we would like to use them using some paintings. We literally can go to paint trees, and we literally can add the tree as the prefab. Let's say we will have these apple trees. Okay, that's awesome. And as you can see, we once again can click somewhere, and these trees will be just added. So as you can see, it happens quite easy. Okay, so let's do the same for maybe these areas. Well, yeah, like that. And surely we can start playing the game, so we can see that literally we have some new elements over there. Okay, that makes the scene more interesting, fulfilled with some elements, which is quite nice. Alright, so what else is possible? Well, we had something like mushrooms, which is super nice, super interesting. So maybe let's add some mushrooms as well. Maybe we can add them as another tree layer, which will be pretty interesting. So let's go for environment prefab. Maybe some mushrooms will be used, and we'll use the mushroom. Okay, that's awesome. That's really awesome. Okay, and now we literally, as you can see, we can pull them, and we can pull them in such huge amount as if we like, or we can just make amount of them smaller for different, you know, areas where we can use them. Okay, and the only thing that if we do that way, some of those mushrooms will be just hidden in the grass, so you can see. But anyways, it's really interesting thing. Well, yeah, and let's just make the game, and as you can see, okay, we have these mushrooms, and lots of them are hidden in the grass, as you can see. So the scene becomes more and more fulfilled with some elements. Okay, that's really awesome. So what else is possible? Well, let's suppose we would like to have some maybe elements probably collected. So let's maybe create an element. Let's suppose our main aim will be to collect some elements, and in the end of the road we're about to maybe go to some spatial rock. And I have seen here quite interesting this rock, and let's suppose when the user will come to this rock, if the user collected some specific amount of some maybe elements, which will be the aim of the player, then the game will be finished. Otherwise, nothing will happen. So let's suppose we'll be just going through the map, something like this. Maybe we'll be collecting some elements if we like, and then going to the rock, something like this, just going much closer. Things of our collected items will be calculated, and if everything fine, if we have enough of those collected things, then the game will be over, and we'll have some text on the screen that game is finished. Okay, so what we'll be using? So let's maybe create some element. Let's say it will be the prefab. So and let's call this orb. So let's say we'll have some orbs our player will have to collect, and here we will add the sphere. So literally we'll have some spheres user will have to collect. Okay, that's great. And we will have a collider, which literally allows us to interfere with all objects around. So let's go for the sphere collider. Okay, where is that? Okay, here we have the sphere collider, and I will say that the radius of that will have to be maybe 1.5 meters. Okay, so if we will place this thing on the scene, how it will look like? Okay, so here we have it, and how it will look like. Let's take a look. Okay, so literally we have this thing. We're about to touch that, and it should be disappeared, and maybe we have to have some we have to have some counter of collected items. Okay, anyways, at this point it doesn't really look nice. So let's create the material and let's make it something looking like the gold. So let's go for material. I will call this orb M, or I can just name it that orb. Since their data types are different, then we can literally have the same names. And here for the color I will use some orange color, like maybe this one, and I will say it will have to be metallic, and I will say, well, it will be pretty smooth like this one. Okay, and I will pull that material for the orb. So here I have material for the mesh, for the sphere mesh, and I will put that material inside. So as you can see right now, how this orb looks like on the scene, well, it looks that way. So how it will be looking for the player that plays the game. Okay, so here we have that, so which is looking pretty nicely. Okay, so let's place a few of such things on the map, like this one, then there will be another one, and let's say player will have to collect only 3 of these things. Okay, so literally player will have to touch all of them, and each of them will have to disappear, and then the player can go to that stone which is located in the end. Okay, so we literally have to make some scripts, some reactions of those orbs. So the very first thing we have to say that this collider will be triggered. So literally it will say that we're about to run a function which will be run when something touches the collider. So let's put a checkbox here. Okay, let's save everything and let's create the script, the C# script, and let's call it orb. So literally, oh, and here we have a sample code placed there, and let's open that, let's double click that, and this code will be opened in the Visual Studio. So let's see how it will be working like. Okay, so we have to wait a bit. Okay, so here we have the Visual Studio opened, and we have our orb class, which has the function start and function update. So literally the function start is being executed when object is just placed on the scene. It means it's placed on the scene during the runtime. So when you put the object on the scene in the editor, it means that we just specify that object position, rotation, scale, and a bunch of parameters. And then when we run the game itself, so all objects which are placed on the scene will be kind of implemented on the scene. So function start will be run for all of them. And function update is one of functions which shall be executed during each tick of the game. So game has something like a timer that literally executes update function from every object. Okay, so what we are gonna do? We are gonna do the following. So we will use the private void function, which is connected to the trigger. So let's press Ctrl space. Okay, maybe let's afterwards write on, and then let's find out on trigger enter function. So on trigger enter, yeah, so here we have, and let's press enter. So we just created the function, and we have to choose that. We don't have to write this by the hands. We have to choose that. So as you can see, functions can have the blue names, and blue names means that the function is bind to objects, entire function. So literally we kind of override them. And if we would just write this by hands, it would mean that well, first of all, the color of the function wouldn't be blue. It will be probably gray, which means that it's just a function and it's not bind to any event within the class. So in this case, onTriggerEnter is function which is connected to an event, one of events of the monoBehavior class. So what do we have here? We have collider, and this is the collider of the object which touches our orb. So let's make the check. So if collider's argument, okay, and we will use the game object. It's the reference for the prefab which is located on the scene, and we're taking the name, and we can actually compare that name to a name of well, to the name of our element, and our prefab that touches using the collider our orb is first person controller. So let's copy that name and let's place it here. So let's say once the player touches the orb, it will disappear. So for disappear we can use a destroy function that basically destroys the current object, and within every class of the monoBehavior, and monoBehavior is the basic class of Unity scene objects. So every of them has the game object reference. It's like the reference self or reference this in other programming languages. Okay, so that's it. So let's save it and let's open the Unity. So let's see what will happen. Okay, so we're moving forward. Okay, and we're touching. Okay, nothing happens. So why nothing really happens? Probably because our player doesn't have maybe a collider, or it's not ready to trigger. Well, let's see. Let's check. So do we have a collider? Okay, we have a collider. Okay, it's not triggering. Oh, okay. Well, I understood what's the problem. So we didn't add the script to the prefab. So here let's add a component, and it will be our script. So let's go for scripts, and let's choose our orb script. Yes, so that's correct. Let's save everything. Let's go back to the scene, and let's activate the game. So let's see what will happen. Okay, so one orb disappeared, second disappeared, and the third disappeared as well. Well, as you can see, this procedure is quite easy. Well, another thing that we can have some scenario in our game. Okay, well, how to build a scenario? As we talked previously, let's just suppose that user has to collect several orbs, and then the user has to go to this monument, and if the user collected necessary amount of orbs, game will be finished. Okay. Let's say I will place additional orbs here. So let's say we will have orb number 4, the orb number, let's say 5, then orb number 6, and let's say the orb number 7. Okay. So the user will need to collect 7 orbs. Okay, that's awesome. But we could have a question. Well, how is it possible to store an information of collected orbs? And how is it possible to show it? So let's start with the first question. Well, how is it possible to store amount of collected orbs? So for that problem solving, let's say solution. Let's create another script, and we will call that as player. Okay, so let's open that in a such way. All right. And here we will create an integer variable which is public, so it will be available for modification from whatever code of the project. And I will write the variable's name as maybe orbs, and initial value will be equal to a 0. Okay. And I will put this script in my first-person controller, maybe prefab, or just for this element which is located on the scene. Maybe I will put that only for this element on the scene. So it will not make any modification into the prefab. And we can find this out that it's so by this plus next to the components icon. Okay, that's great. So another thing, well, how to add the value, how let's say change it. So in our orb script, in addition to destroying the element, we will try to have an access to the player component. So what we are gonna do? We are going to create a variable with the data type of the script, so called player, like this one. And once the object is placed on the scene during the runtime, we will try to have an access to this component. So we will use the game object, and when the game object is written with uppercase G, it means that we are operating with elements of the scene. So it's class, not the instance or not the reference. So, and we will be looking for the element, for the object on the scene, which is called first-person controller. And from that object, we will take the component of the class player. So it will happen in that way. Okay. So once the player reaches the orb, we will increase amount of collected orbs. So it will happen that way. Okay, awesome. So literally this code will work well, but there would be a question, well, how to show those orbs on the scene? So for that purpose, we will work with the canvas, which is pre-created by the first-person controller script. So if we would take a look around, we will see such a rectangle, super huge rectangle scene. Scene there. Okay, maybe we can have an access to that. Yes, like this. Oops. So literally, yeah. So this canvas is literally the screen through which we take a look using our camera on the scene. So, which means that we potentially can place a textual element here, like a text, which will be located on our screen. So you see, I type some text and it appears there. We can even change parameters, for example, the font size. And if we would run our game, we will see these texts. So you see, we have texts, and let's assume we will use exactly this thing for showing some information. And I will choose maybe the black color for showing the information, because we don't have any black color on some another object of our elements on the scene. Okay, that's great. And let's suppose our initial text will be orbs and amount equal to a 0. Okay, so what we are gonna do? We are gonna have the access to this text afterwards, and we will try to change this text once we collect another orb. So what we are gonna do? We will do the following. So the first of all, we will have the access to this text in the player. So in the player code, we will do the following. We will have a reference, once again the public reference for the text. But since we don't really have the text class available, we will have access to UI elements of the Unity. Okay, we have it, and I will call it as orb text. Well, I will follow C-typed good practice, having the lowercase letter as the first letter of the variable name. Okay, so let it be that way. Okay, and what will happen nextly? Nextly, we will try to find out the reference for this. The reference which will be used within this element. So let's click this circle, and let's select the object that has this class. Crosshair and stamina is the name of that element on the scene. Okay, and in the brackets we say that exactly text component will be used from that object, and that will be really fine. So afterwards, let's go to orbs again, and right after we changed the amount of orbs which are collected, we will try to have an access once again through the player to the textual element. So you see we have orb text, and we will have the access to a text information, and we will write orbs, and then we will convert amount of collected orbs literally to a text. So we'll use toString function. Okay, so that's it. And let's go back to the Unity and let's run the game. So let's see what will happen. So let's see what will happen once we will collect another orb. Okay, so one orb is collected, two orbs are collected, 3, then we will have 4, then we will have 5, 6, 7. Okay, that's awesome. So our last step is related to this element, and we have to create that monument which literally finds out if we have necessary amount of orbs, and if we do, then we have to have something like game is finished or thank you for playing, well, something like that. Okay, so let's try to do that. For that purpose, let's create another prefab. Okay, we have it. I will call it as maybe monument. Okay, so we have it. Let's open that. Okay, that's awesome. And let's put here that monument. Okay, so let's go to the rocks and let's put this element right there. Okay, that's great, that's really awesome. And in addition, we're about to create a collider, and maybe I will use once again the spheric collider, and I will use some maybe a bit maybe bigger a bigger radius, maybe like this one. Well, yes. Okay, let it be made in that way. And I will use the trigger. Okay, that's awesome. So we have collider that triggers the function once something touches the collider. Okay, that's awesome. What's next? Next, I will go to my main folder and I will create a script called monument. Okay, we have it, and let's maybe add the monument script to our prefab from the beginning, just in order not to forget about this afterwards. Okay, so let's open that script, and literally what we have to do, we have to catch the player's amount of orbs during the monument. So what we are gonna do, we are gonna make a copy paste of some elements from the orbs, from the orbs class, like this one. Okay, and we will have the function related to touching the collider, like this one. Okay, so here maybe instead of just adding some orbs, we'll find out how many orbs, or let's say if amount of orbs is necessary one. Okay, that's great. And once it's the necessary one, then we can change the text, like "thank you for playing" or something like that. All game is finished. Okay, something like this. Let's go back to the Unity. Alright, we have it. And let's place this monument. Okay, and let's place that monument instead of this just a rock. Okay, so let's place it here and let's rotate it a bit, just to make it look into the player's side or direction, and let's pull it a bit into the ground. Okay, that's great, that's really awesome, and let's try to run the game and let's see what will happen. Okay, we have it, and let's collect some of those orbs, and let's suppose firstly we will go to that monument without necessary amount of orbs, so let's not to collect one of them. Okay, so as you can see, we went to the monument and nothing happens. So let's collect the 7th orb. Okay, we have it, and what will happen now is the text. Let's see. So as we can see, we have the text "game is finished," but in the same time it could happen that we could have something even more than just the text. Maybe we could have something like for example a new screen, or maybe we could be pulled to another scene. Well, actually whatever could happen. But in our case, we have just this fancy text, because this is just a thing for training how to build a super small, super fast game. So guys, you can see how you can make one. Okay, thanks for watching this video, I hope this one will help you.